Welcome everybody to number 6 of this series. Customer service is a culture, not just a checklist. In this session today, what we're going to be covering for everyone in the Harcourts group is different ways that you can approach your customer service and ways that you can get some really strong benefits, not just out of your current clientele, but also those that are new people that you get to meet and interact with along the way. So have you ever really considered the type of person you are when you're in a conversation? Do you actually ensure that you are active and listening properly and actively listening when you are in the midst of a conversation with your client? It is very easy when you are talking with someone to be interacting, listening to what they say, and they're halfway through their conversation and there's something that says that triggers in your mind, and that plays in the back of the mind, actually takes over your listening ability. So it is a skill that needs to be practiced and can certainly be achieved by having, regular practice at it. But it is really important that you do actively listen. Pick up on the key areas that you want to rediscuss when that person has finished having the conversation. So some ways that you can, practice this now in the future when you do maybe meet with a new client or a current client as well, is observe the situation. So observe their person as such. Are they angry? Are they happy? Get a really good idea and feeling for what their current situation is and the way that they are explaining everything to you. Be really focused on the key points that are issues and they're brought to your attention. So make sure that you are focused on what the issue is at hand, that you don't miss it and bypass it and they think that you haven't been listening. Acknowledge and nod and make, you can sometimes say a few things in the conversation to acknowledge that you do agree that, yes, that is frustrating, that is very disappointing, I can completely understand where you're coming from. That kind of interaction is certainly very powerful and it reminds them that you're still active in the conversation, and also show them respect as well. Allow them to finish. Don't cut them off, but also provide them with solutions and respect that sometimes a solution that you might provide them in the beginning might not be exactly what they're chasing. So adding value is, one of the major key openers and ways that we can overcome objections. So as I've mentioned in the past slides, there will be times when we face objections where there have been issues that have been raised and it's been brought to our attention. But we can also add value in the very beginning, especially when we're meeting a new landlord for the first time wanting to secure their property within our agency. I find that for a lot of BDMs within the industry, there's always the fear and the concern about if you're the highest charging fee within your local area, it's very difficult to get that price and you've got to negotiate and drop the price down. You've really got to start to be more clever and use your wording in your power, know the benefits of what your business has, whether it be a service guarantee. So for example, with myself, when I was working with Prestige Properties on the Fraser Coast, is if it got to the point where they would say, why should I choose you? I know you're the highest fee within the area. What is it that you do differently? And that's when I say, well, let me talk with you, let me share with you about our 7-point written service guarantee, which basically covers you if we make a mistake as an agency. And they'd be like, whoa, okay, yes, definitely want to hear more about that. So knowing when you've got those key opportunities to have those one-liners come in. There will be also other times where they will ask you a question that you probably won't know the answer to, which can clearly be stressful and frustrating for yourself, but also for the client too. So rather than just saying, I don't know, I'm new, or I'm not too sure, working along the lines of saying something more like, let me share with you what I know, based on what I've done the research on. This is the information that I can tell you now. However, I'd like to go back to the office, make a couple of calls, and get a bit more information together for you just to make sure that we're heading on the right track. So being open and honest and encouraging ways that you can add value, because it's not unreasonable to not be able to give the answer on the spot, especially if it comes down to legislation. Not all of us can be a glorified Stacey Holden, and I give full power to her. She's very well educated when it comes to the Residential Tenancies Act, and that we have to follow our legislation here in Queensland. But if we don't know something, and there's been times when I had the same thing happen to myself, I will always respond back and say, that's a fantastic question. This is what I know about that situation, but let me just go and do a little more research for you as well, just to make sure we're on the right track. Being proactive is a way to be very powerful and stand out and show that your agency means business when it comes to customer service and that you are at the highest level. Are you making decisions when you only have to and when you're backed into a corner? I think it's really important that we are proactive when there is a situation at hand that doesn't go to plan, that we do actually bring it to their attention, and we don't find ourselves in this situation where we're having to bite our laptops, for example, in frustration and stress because we become so over it, so consumed in the situation. If we're proactive in the first place, there's a higher chance that we have a better opportunity to have a solution that's going to work for both parties. So different times when you can be proactive, and I'm basing some of these around the contact with the tenant, the plumber, the landlord, and obviously then another example of providing detailed information. So to be proactive with the tenant would be to pick up the phone and talk to them about their arrears, for example. I understand and know that we've got the SMS procedure that we can use, which is fantastic, and I think that has helped to reduce some of our arrears rates across the board. But I'd also consider if we've got repeat offenders that are always 5 days, always 7 days, you know, always getting that text message or getting that breach notice, to pick up the phone, have a chat with them, and put them on a payment plan where they can actually fix that up and get back ahead again. Contacting your plumber, for example, so contacting your tradespeople, talking to them about what the service has been like for them with the agency. Are their bills being paid on time from our administration? How's the communication with the property managers? Do you find the maintenance request forms are nice and detailed and easy for you to understand? Have you been able to gain access to the property? By asking those questions and being proactive can make a big difference to the way that the tradespeople will not only look after you and your client, but how they will pass business to you as well. Contacting the landlords, running current client surveys on our landlords, asking them how their service has been with their property manager they've been allocated to, asking them if they've considered selling in the future. Would they like a free property health check to give them an up-to-date price on what's happening in the marketplace? Do they have other properties that we don't currently manage? All these factors make a big difference. And to provide detailed information as well, being proactive in making sure that you do educate yourself on a regular basis, that you're not just attending one event throughout the year and then going straight back into work. Every week you should be taking the time to continue to educate yourself so you've got more and more information that you can share with your clients. If you're wanting to go to the extent in the way that you do your email marketing, having set templates that you use with your blogging and stuff that goes out, or potentially having a newsletter that you send out regularly to your tenants and also to your landlords. Proactive and reactive examples here. So a reactive example to a situation is I've got a massive chest pain and pins and needles down my arm. I should book in an appointment to see a doctor, but I just don't have the time. A proactive approach to that same situation would be, even though I have no symptoms, I want to live longer and a healthier life so that I can embrace happy habits with healthy eating and regular exercise. I've booked in for my 12-month checkup on Wednesday and it should only take me about 30 minutes. So you can see the difference between the first example and the second example. Are we being proactive and positive towards the situations that are ahead of us, or are we constantly going and referring to that last little line every time, I just don't have the time? So predict, prevent, plan, participate, and perform. Being proactive rather than reactive means to control the situations rather than letting them control you. So you can predict the situation at hand. You can predict if I don't make the decision to call the landlord now to tell them about the problem with the tenant, this is where it's going to go. You can prevent, obviously, by picking up the phone and making the call. You can plan, you can have a strategy in place to go from the problem right through the solution and what's going to work for both parties. Participation, you can be involved in it or you can delegate it. Either way, if you delegate it, you need to monitor it as well and perform. It needs to happen. You need to make sure that the process happens as it's meant to. Sorry guys, I just sort of coughed there. I'd like to thank you all for attending this webinar today. This is the last one of the 6 series. If I can ask you to do one thing, is to go back into your offices and really talk about the way that you do promote yourselves and the business in the way of customer service. It's always one of the biggest calling areas for issues and concerns that do come from property management, and I encourage you to sit down as a team and discuss ways that you, as an agency, Harcourts agency within your local area, can be stand out when it comes to your customer service. Thank you all for your attendance, and I hope you have a sensational day.